producer, um, curator, founder of the Atomic Scientists production crew worldwide. And basically, I'm a keeper of the hip hop culture, all things known. One of my styles is hip hop, boom bap. I do a little house or whatever, but yeah, yeah, that's pretty much it. First, first thing that I can remember that really got me into hip hop was, uh, yeah, Rapper's Delight. Anything on Sugar Hill, uh, breakdancing, Soul Train. Uh, I'm a throw it even back. Jackson 5, Dancing Machine. Uh, probably probably really gonna show my age if y'all look up a old television show called Shields and Yarnell, where it was an old TV show from the 70s, but it was a show. It was a comedy show, but the people were doing robotics. So that was my early introduction into hip hop, and that's like pre 80s. Going into 80, into the early 80s. Count Cool Out. Um, yeah, Run DMC, Larry Smith, Curtis Blow. Yeah, that's pretty much it on that. You know, I've been doing my knowledge since what, 82. Since 82. Yeah. It had a major impact because it was at the starting point. You know what I mean? Before breakdancing. You know what I mean? You know, before popping. You know. And me living in Washington D.C. at the time, where go-go basically started, which is sort of like hip hop, but it's a different type of genre. Yeah, that basically changed my whole life. You know what I mean? I begged my mother to take me to the record store every chance I got, just so I could get some of the new rap that's going on. You know what I mean? And then Def Jam came around, and they basically took everything over. So it was like anything on that label, it was like, yo, I gotta get it. I mean, anything on Def Jam. I probably wouldn't even know the rappers, but it was like, yo, I just got to get it, because it's on Def Jam. It was more of, you had to, it was either you liked it or you hated it. You know what I mean? Either you liked rap and hip hop, or it was just like, what is, this dude is weird. You know what I mean? Like, you know, like, I had to eventually walk the fine line. You know what I mean? Because the girls didn't really want to fuck with you when your clothes is dirty. You spinning on your back all day. You know what I mean? So you had to walk the fine line. So I was cool about it. Man, I'll probably say one of the. I was there at the Fresh Fest when the Fresh Fest started in '82. Fat Boys, Run DMC, Rockmaster Scott, Dynamic 3. I could really truly say that I saw Dougie Fresh and Slick Rick perform Lottie Dottie when it was like '82. You know what I mean? So I was there at the Cap Center, Rocksteady Crew, New York City Breakers. I would cut school to go to like the clubs where it was, you know what I mean? And yeah, I was really engulfed in it. It was like later on down the line where I got to where it was like, yo, I want to rap, you know what I mean? But at first it was just breakdancing, you know what I mean? And just listening. You know, I had a buddy from New York that would bring tapes from Hank Love, DNA, Red Alert, Marley Marl, Chuck Chill Out, Red Alert, you know what I mean? So I was always ahead because I had a person that would go to New York every other week and bring records back, and you listen to them, and you know what's going on. Public Enemy, greatest group of all time. I just won't put that out there. But yeah, Rebel Without Applause, all of that stuff. You know what I mean? I was into it. Man, in 1988, I moved to New Orleans. I moved to New Orleans in 1988, and you know, I would actually, you know, I would see DJs, but when I moved to New Orleans, I met my buddy. We still cool to this day. John Curley, aka DJ Criminal. But he basically took me under his wing, and he basically was like, you know, I would write a little something, but I know I was whack. But he'd be like, yo, you're dope. You know what I mean? He'd be like, yo, you're dope. But also, he would take me around to like clubs, and I would see Manny Fresh. You know what I mean? And one of the main things that really got me was, opposed to DJs back east. When I went down south, it would be 2 turntables, but they will also have a Roland Juno keyboard or a Roland 808. So basically, you know, they had the 2 turntables, but they have the drum machine. So they was basically doing remixes, you know what I mean, doing remixes right on the spot, to a point where even to this day, I can remember Manny Fresh, and that's crazy. I can remember Manny Fresh mixing Rock the Bells, the original version, not the album version, but the original Rock the Bells with Al B. Shore, Night and Day. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. Like, whoa, that is, but it sounded so dope. You know what I mean? So ever since then, like, me and my man Criminal, we would just try to do little demos in the kitchen or whatever. But that was the first start of me saying, okay, this is what I want to do. Basically, I had no equipment. I did my first demo, I want to say 89, 90. Back then, I didn't know how to make the music. You know what I mean? And I think I stumbled upon like Heavy D. I listened to Heavy D, and I'm like, yo, I'm telling my friend, I'm like, yo, they're taking other people's music and they're, you know, sampling. I at the time didn't even know what a sample was, but when I did my first demo, I went to the record store and bought Barry White. I forgot the song. I Love You a Little Bit More, Baby, and that was the first introduction into digging, looking for breaks. You know what I mean? Yeah, and then I went to the studio, and I gave the engineer the record and said, this is what I want to use. So basically he sampled it and looped it, and then, you know, put drums over it, and I was like, oh, okay. I still didn't know I was producing, but it was just like, okay, I know what to do now. You know what I mean? So yeah, that was probably like my first introduction into when I went into the studio. But man, I didn't get equipment until probably around 12 years later, because I couldn't afford it. You know what I mean? So I would go into the studio, you know what I mean, and yeah, I couldn't afford the equipment. The equipment, like now, you can make beats on your phone. Back then, you had to go to a studio. You know what I mean? You really wasn't buying equipment back then. You know what I mean? Well, I was rapping, and I stumbled upon DJing. Um, I end up getting a 1200 Technique 1200 for a pair of shoes. Uh, my old girlfriend brother stole his father's turntable, and he sold it to me. And I had that turntable, and then I basically had a mismatched DJ set. I had a Technique 1200, I had a Fisher direct drive turntable, and I bought a Newmark mixer. And you know, I would, like I said, I would always buy records, but they just compiled, and I started DJing. And when I started DJing, I would, you know, make beats. So that's how I end up making beats. I would probably put some drums on one turntable, you know, break beats. Shout out to Ultimate Beats and Breaks, Luis Flores, the foundation. I would hit the record store, get the break beats, and I would put some drums on one turntable, find the loop, and say, oh, okay, next time I go to the studio, this is what I'm going to use. So that's how I basically really started getting into production. Well, I have to shout out my mentor, because I was doing demos. And I would pass them out. Like I said, I'm from Washington D.C., so I would hit the club, and I don't know if you know you're familiar with a rapper or a DJ. His name is DJ Cool. He's a legend in D.C. Let Me Clear My Throat is probably what you heard from DJ Cool, but I gave him my demo. He loved it, and he ended up giving it to my mentor. He's sort of on the outs now, but his name is James X. Shout out James X. He heard my demo, and he liked it, and he was like, yo, I want to work with you, and he put me in the studio. So I didn't have to pay for studio time no more. You know what I mean? He put me in the studio, and actually, you know, I don't want to really name drop, but this is my folks. Genuine is his brother. So we all came up together. You know what I mean? Me, him, Genuine, my man, Extra Large, you know, my man Coach Dwayne, you know, like we all came up. He had a label called Groove Tip. So he put out an EP in '91, James X, you know, but he was a DJ, and he featured me and my man XL, which is Killer Fats now. Shout out Killer Fats. But you know, it was a 5-track EP, and you know, it was horrible, but it was dope at the time. But it's horrible. But he was the one, James was the one who really first took interest in me and was like, yo, you really, really dope, I'ma work with you. So we worked together for a long time. But the only thing we put out was the EP, which is, I want to say, I forgot how much it is on Discogs. But yeah, I have a couple of songs with Elgin, Genuine, and you know, yeah, and it's tucked in the stash. Man, I wanted to be Too Short, Ice Cube, Ice-T, Eazy-E, MC Ren, Dr. Dre. Dr. Dre was the shit. So that's, you know, basically what I try to hone my production skills. I was nowhere near, but I was a gangster rapper. I wanted to be a gangster rapper. And then the jazz age came into it. So, you know, like, I never really had my own niche. Cause when something came out, yo, yeah, let's try to sound like him or try to sound like them, opposed to honing my style, which took years later, you know what I mean? But I was searching. I was searching for my style. I was searching for my sound. I was searching for my voice. You know what I mean? Like it took years to get this voice. So my first demo, oh Lord, you know. But that's like everybody else's first demo. They hate it. But yeah, it was it was a long time coming, especially because I didn't have any equipment to really hone my style. So I was always duplicating the next person. I know everybody's heard this before from the old heads. I had the turntables, but I also had a radio, a box that had a quick pause button. So I was basically starting looping. You know, I went from blending records together, making my beats, to actually looping from my pause and record from my box. So I actually still got some of my tapes in here, you know what I mean, where it's just raw loops, and I would, you know, write and rap over that. It wasn't until around about 96 is where I got my first sampler. It was a Roland JS30. It didn't even have a sequencer. It was just a sampler. So I would make beats off of that, and then just go into the studio to revise and get the sequencing right. You know what I mean? But it was basically loops, no chops. You know what I mean? Nothing but just straight raw loops. Well, yeah, pause and record. Pause and record is basically you find a loop, you play it, record it, rewind the record. Play, record, rewind the record for at least about 10 minutes. So then when you rewind the joint back, it's just an infinite loop. You know what I mean? Now, within that, I sort of started chopping within that, because I'm like, oh, okay, well, I could pause and then I could put this in and keep the beat going. But that it don't get no caveman in that, you know what I mean? Because around that time, everybody had, you know, well, there were MPC, the Akai 60s, the Akai 62s, you know what I mean? But like I said, that's like 2 G's. So right there, it was just, you know, having my idea, you know what I mean, and going to the studio to make it work. Okay, well, basically I was in a group, but I was working with, and that was the good thing. That was the good thing about it, because everybody knew I had equipment. So when it was like, yo, I want to go to the studio, oh, call Speech. He know what to do, you know what I mean? So at an early age, I was getting broke off. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I wasn't making the beat, but I was making the beat. When we go to the studio, I'm like making the beat. But when they would come over to my house, I'm like, yo, we're going to use this record, and I'm going to put these drums over it. I'm going to scratch, you know what I mean? And, you know, like, I was a ghost writer. But no, not too many people that you would know of, just local cats until I got signed to where people wanted to actually really want to pay me to do it. And that was Black Mild Records. Shout out to my man Fats, you know what I mean? Love you, my nigga. But yeah, that was it. I worked with a lot of groups. Let me see. I mean, like I said, it's not too many to name, but if I name them, you wouldn't know who they were. You know what I mean? But I